So what's your first non-PC violation? We should probably I want to make this a running thing.
Yeah.
Is it the 6 foot tall blonde Oriental?
Oh my God.
Good Lord.
That's...
All right. You remember that fantasy I've had since junior high? You're kidding. I swear. You found a 6 foot red-headed Oriental girl?
And everybody says it. Like 3 different characters all say it.
I drank a lot more than I thought the other night, and Gail's hair is not red, she's not Oriental, and she was standing on a bar stool, so all in all, I'd say Cindy's quite a catch.
Can't even imagine it. A 6 foot redhead Oriental.
Yes. Oh God. Yeah, I have big notes on that.
Redheaded. Shit, my bad. It was a 6 foot tall redheaded Oriental.
This was a PC violation.
Welcome back to Wings Nuts. This is the program that aims to talk about every episode of classic 90s sitcom Wings. Obey your thirst. So today we are talking about episode 5 of Wings, episode 4 of this podcast. And the episode is called There Once Was a Girl from Nantucket. It was originally broadcast on May 17th, 1990.
Here is the synopsis from IMDb. There once was a girl from Nantucket. Brian asks the girl out and she agrees on the condition that he finds someone for her friend Cindy, and he volunteers Joe. Joe initially refuses, but Brian guilts him into it. Later he learns that Cindy is very quote-unquote popular, which makes him reconsider, but then Helen guilts him, and at their date, one of her exes shows up, and when he treats her crudely, Joe stands up for her. That's slightly accurate.
Yeah. Those are the broad strokes, I guess.
Yeah, because Joe stands up for her by Brian's prodding. I kind of grew to like Brian more in that moment, even though Brian was being a little dipshit. But I was still yeah, fucking stand up for this girl. Sorry
Agreed.
for cursing to our Christian listeners.
No, we're not. And I have kind of an update from our second episode where we talked about Sam Pancake. I added him on Twitter, just asked him hey, what was your experience on Wings like? And he replied, and this is what Sam Pancake had to say. It was my first line on a TV show, and I was overwhelmed but thrilled. And there was an earthquake on stage one day during rehearsal. Also, Steven Weber is a gem.
Ah, that's good to hear.
So good on you, Sam Pancake. And before we dive deep into the episode of Wings, let's discuss some news of the day. And these articles come from the Boston Globe, and this issue was dropped on everyone's doorsteps on May 17th in the year of our Lord, 1990.
In the year of our Christian Lord.
Yes, most obviously. Come on.
I'm not a Christian. I think I can safely say that Jared is not either, but we probably grew up in it.
I wouldn't even say I grew up in it. You know, what my story was is at a very young age, realized my parents weren't religious, but there was enough religious stuff in the ether that I started feeling guilty and scared. So I coaxed my neighbors into taking me to church and went to enough Sunday school stuff to realize, oh, I don't like this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My birth certificate says Christian on it, even though both of my parents were Scientologists when I was born. And if it wasn't for the wonderful religion of Scientology, I wouldn't exist in this world. And so I'm thankful every day for that. My mom continues to be a Scientologist. My dad passed away in the 90s as a Scientologist. I don't think either of them would be in what's her name's sites. Leah Remini?
Yes.
Wow. So the first thing I grabbed from the May 17th, 1990 issue of the Boston Globe is the Applebee's ad. We have a cartoon. We got Naked Eve and we got Naked Adam. We don't see anything on Eve because her hair's covering it up, but she's offering Adam an apple, and he's saying, "It's tempting, Eve, but I'd rather go to Applebee's for the chicken fajita salad, the hickory roasted ribs, and the fudge nut fantasy."
You're lying. I did not see that ad. Is it really?
Yeah.
That's out there, Applebee's.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
God damn. I don't think I ever tried an Applebee's until the aughts. They weren't like in my neighborhood.
I'm not sure if I've ever eaten at an I'm sure I have. I think there's like one in Northridge that I've eaten at. And I was like, oh man, a few years ago, because Applebee's is not doing great. They've been like pulling some pretty desperate moves recently. And a few years ago, they were offering like $1 margaritas for like the whole month of November or something. And like my buddies and I were like, we gotta go. Take. I'm sure they were like probably terrible margaritas, but
yeah, that is good. I think what jumped out to me was we had the passing of Jim Henson and Sammy Davis Jr. both on that day. I remember this now because I remember the day because I was such a huge Jim Henson fan. I wrote a school paper about how he was my hero. And the day he died, I had to go to the dentist. And I remember that at that point may have been just like the most depressing day of my life.
Wow, you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it because I was like I remember sitting in the dentist chair, just sad about Jim Henson.
Do you remember like sitting in the dentist chair, listening to like whatever music they were playing? And as the song ends, the commercials come on and they go, tune in to NBC tomorrow for a brand new episode of Wings. Joe gets tricked into going on a date with the island bimbo or something. Yeah. I love Jim Henson. I grew up watching Sesame Street, which I don't know how much of like creation he has in that, but like I know that they use a lot of his characters that he created. Yeah. And then I loved the Muppets movies growing up. I think I remember hearing that around the time that he was passing, he was in developments with Disney, to see like if they could. Because I think that like the Jim Henson company wasn't going super strong at the time, and so I think Disney was gonna step in and kind of like try to produce his next few movies. And I think that around the time of his passing, I was probably watching like Muppet specials on the Sunday night ABC Disney, whatever those specials were.
I used to love the show. It might have been late 80s, early 90s, where I think it was like Jim Henson's Storyteller or something. Yeah. And it would just be like hour-long like fables. And
they felt very like sleepy time to me, like in a very comforting way, and I really liked that.
Yeah. What's the next headline that jumps out at you?
Well, this is insane. This is Ask Beth, and it's one of those, like Miss Manners / Ask whatever, like one of those advice columns. But this is insane. The headline: Parents' punishment seems abusive. The following are excerpts from the flood of letters I received concerning the 14-year-old boy who was beaten for masturbating and then forced to sleep naked with his door open. It is like, that's so fucked up. So this is like a follow-up to like a previous, I guess, advice that she had gotten, but like
she advised the parents to beat their child.
She's like, she's very much on the side of like just fucking let kids masturbate. But like a lot of these are just kind of like random comments from readers. Like one reader says, "This sounds perverted to me, as if his parents are getting some kind of illicit thrill out of trying to catch him masturbating. Tell that kid to talk to a counselor or someone in authority. No one should have to put up with that stuff at any age. It's a violation of their rights." And then someone else writes, "This is child abuse and should be reported to the authorities. Get real."
That's wild that this kind of family drama is spilling into the advice column.
Yeah.
I wonder what that guy's around our age, so I wonder what he's up to today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just like a few years older than us.
Probably got like some major phobia.
Like, there was actually even a follow-up question from somebody, like, "Dear Beth, you always say that you always say," I wonder if this comes up a lot. "You always say that masturbation is healthy and normal. Well, I'm a 14-year-old girl, and one morning my mother walked into my room and found me masturbating. She made me take off my nightgown and took me over her knee and beat me with the paddle. If masturbation is such a normal thing, why did I get beaten?" And then her response is saying, like, "The answer is that some people don't agree with me. I always preface that statement by writing, today experts believe that masturbation is normal and healthy. However, various religions have preached for a long time that the practice is a sin. Some still do, so that many people still feel it is wrong. Your mother must be one of them. I think what she did is a great mistake for the reasons I gave above." Agreed. Way to go, Beth.
And this is the kind of stuff you're missing if, like, in today's day and age, no one gets the paper on their doorstep every morning and reads it. they, just check like their feed. You're not getting these kind of advice columns, silly advertisements, and cartoons. I think we lost something there when we stopped all subscribing to newspapers.
There is something like rereading through all these is like a weird kind of nostalgic comfort. Like it's kind of, I do miss this. Mm-hmm. I also miss the fact that like back then you would read the whole paper because that was your primary source of news. Yeah. You weren't like, getting pop-ups in your RSS feed, and wow, I said that like an old man, but you weren't, you know what I mean? Like you weren't like relying on like the instant news from being on the internet. You had to like read through the paper and kind of like little, you would catch bigger news stories on TV, but the little stuff was still kind of harder to find. So what's your astrological sign?
I'm an Aquarii.
Oh, we're both Aquarii. So it says, enjoy life a little today. Take a long lunch with the Sagittarius and window shop afterward. The evening finds you thinking about property and sources of funding for your wishes. Guys, some of these pages are better scanned than others.
That's fucked up, man. I was not doing any of that stuff on May 17th. I was just sad about Jim Henson all day.
Oh man, I was fully enjoying life a little that day. And I had a really long lunch with my friend Lucas, who was born between November 22nd and December 21st, making him a Sagittarius.
Okay, page 1, the headline grabbed me, Louisiana case galvanizes death penalty debate. And basically you had a 17-year-old black youth who was found to have brain damage, who his brother and him got pulled over in their car for a busted taillight. And this 17-year-old child shot and killed the cop. So an all-white jury sentenced him to death. And so I guess this, sparked the death penalty debate. And the story is interesting to me for so many reasons, because when you talk police profiling, it's often busted taillights or like what they use as an excuse to pull someone over. And so it's just a sad story that I think is still prescient today. And I looked up the statistics. In the year 1990 in the U.S., there were 23 executions. And 2021, last year, there was 11 executions. So that's where we're at with the death penalty. I don't know if we had like less executions in 2021 from like, if that's just the trend or maybe that's COVID related, because a lot of courts and everything were all tied up. And
that's possible. And like, I don't think that they've really made electrical chairs COVID safe.
You'd have to like wear your mask and stand 6 feet away when you sit into the chair.
There's my boomer joke of the day. I guess they don't think that like gas chambers are socially distanced enough. I'll let Jarred be the voice of intelligence, and I'm gonna read you guys a review of a various artists CD that got released May 17th, 1990. Called Baseball's Greatest Hits, Let's Play, Volume 2 by Rhino. The greatest of baseball's hits, Casey at the bat, Who's on First, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, were used on the first disc. But there's plenty left for the sequel. Peter Paul and Mary's Right Field is a touching ode to those banished to where the ball was rarely hit. Jane Morgan's Baseball, Baseball is an infectious, bouncy tune from 1954 about a woman in love with a man who's in love with baseball.
Do they got the put me in, coach? I'm ready to play.
I don't think so, because I don't. They would have mentioned it, I think.
Today. The licensing on that was probably too much.
Maybe. I'll skip ahead like 7 days, knock it out of the park, because entertaining and energetic is their best work. Let's see. It says that there's only one disappointment. The only disappointment is the damn Yankees version of You Gotta Have Heart, which should have been left to the superior rendition by the now defunct Orchestra Luna. For that, it's wait till next year.
See,
for Volume 3.
Again, with like what we're missing out on, Anthony Fantano isn't reviewing like the baseball music compilation CDs. Okay, this headline grabbed me. Bush presses Congress for Latin aid. So basically, he went begging to Congress for an $800 million package for Nicaragua and Panama, and he kind of chided Congress for going on break, and he's like, hey, work through Memorial Day break because you got to approve this. And reading this article is just glaring, like what's missing. If you just fell out of the sky and didn't know Bush and didn't know Panama or Nicaragua. You think he's just like trying to help them out, but you know, they omit like his long history in there, both when he was like head of the CIA and vice president. He was chiefly responsible for ushering in Noriega into Nicaragua, and you know, the Iran-Contra, funding all the narco trafficking and arming the Contras to overthrow the government, basically. And just a year prior, on December 20th in 1989, he ordered an invasion of Panama with 26,000 troops, which ended up killing about 1,000 civilians and leaving 10,000 people homeless. Prior to that, you know, the CIA spent $10 million like meddling in their elections and stuff. So he was no stranger to Panama and Nicaragua. And I'm just kind of blown away how you can read a news story that leaves all the context out. And I think it just goes to show, like, you can be up on the news and reading the paper or watching CNN, but if you don't know the background or the context of things, you can really be uninformed.
Yeah. Wow.
What else grabs you in the paper?
Well, I thought this was interesting. I went to the end, or the movie reviews were 1.5 stars to Pretty Woman.
Ooh.
Out of 4 stars. Richard Gere, as a takeover tycoon, takes over prostitute Julia Roberts and does a Pygmalion number on her in this woman-bashing affair masquerading as light romantic comedy. All it seems to think is wrong is her clothes sense. It's oblivious to its real motor, the woman's submissiveness and presentation of the prostitute's work life is falsely sanitized.
Wow. Who wrote that review? Pauline Kael?
I don't know, but also released that week early in the same period, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which gets 2.5 stars.
And I don't think anyone would contest that review, because you know.
But they're right. Who'd have dreamed that 4 hunks of green rubber could have entertainment value? Nothing earth-shaking here, but they're cute as they prowl the sewers in search of pizza, and their 4-foot-tall rat guru who needs rescuing from a samurai Darth Vader. I love that description.
I wonder if they would like historically reevaluate that review, because I think everyone pretty much agrees both those movies are classic kind of movies, and Pretty Woman is, you know, a hard to assail good movie.
Pretty Woman, I don't know if I have seen it recently enough that I could give a review of it, but it did great box office boffo wise.
Yeah.
But we're climbing the steps here, because we have Pretty Woman that got 1.5 stars. We have Ninja Turtles that got 2.5 stars. And now we have a movie that got 3.5 stars. House Party.
You're lying.
I'm not lying. Smart and sweet with a hip-hop beat, this is the black teen party film that's going to turn rap into a crossover phenomenon. Although it's indigenously black enough not to need to. Rappers Kid and Play are fresh and disarming in their different ways. Play in his sunny party animal persona, and especially Kid, who's both hot-wired and coolly ironic, yearning yet lightly self-mocking.
Wow. Okay.
I love House Party, but I don't remember it being like that good.
No, I enjoy all those movies, but I think they kind of got their star ranking out of order in terms of like.
Maybe. I mean, they did get like Born on the 4th of July is a 4-star. Cinema Paradiso gets 3.5 stars right alongside House Party.
That's a good double feature at the drive-in that weekend.
I was trying to find like a 1-star. Driving Miss Daisy gets 4 stars. I've never actually seen that movie.
Yeah.
But I was looking for like a 1-star movie that I could talk about. But I've never heard of Far Out Man or The First Power.
I don't think I have any other major headlines. Just in other news, you know, they're still talking South Africa apartheid. They're still talking USSR stuff, Lithuania stuff, and all that good things. Anything else grab you from this issue?
The one last thing is an article about Twin Peaks. And this section particularly captured me because they say, Emerson notes the plot similarities between the ABC series and the 1944 movie Laura, starring Gene Tierney as an apparent murder victim who turns out alive. Emerson points out that the man stalking Laura in the movie was named Waldo Lydecker, played by Clifton Webb. Now pay attention. in Twin Peaks, veterinarian Bob's last name is also Lydecker, and a bird featured in the show is named Waldo. Brilliant sleuthing, Emerson.
Yeah, I did read that. It's a different Emerson though. It's not you. Fess
Jim
up.
Emerson.
Jim Emerson. Yeah. And I like that, Twin Peaks was really that popular that they can just fill the Boston Globe with someone's headcanon of what's going on with Twin Peaks, and David Lynch plagiarizing the movie Laura, and pretty wild.
They love the idea that like somebody in San Bernardino was selling T-shirts that say "I killed Laura Palmer."
Yes.
Because like they mentioned that in this article, and I read it like in another article that they wrote in the Boston Globe.
I did go on eBay to try to find one of those shirts, and I failed.
Ah, curses.
I'm signing up for alerts on that. Cool. Let's review some of the talent for this episode. This episode was produced by Roz Doyle. It was written by Dave Hackle. We previously talked about him. And directed by Noam Pitlick. Yeah, so these are all people that directed, wrote, or produced some of the previous episodes. Some interesting guest stars. We had Megan Mullally.
Oh, I love
playing
Megan
Cindy.
Mullally. Yeah. She's so funny. And I love that weird choice of how she chose to play. Oh, I don't know. I can't even do an impersonation right now, but yeah. As Cindy.
What do you best know her from?
I best know her from Party Down. Cause she's comes in season 2 and she is like the funniest character in the entire series.
Yeah.
I know that she's most famous for Will and Grace,
Yes.
but I didn't really watch that show.
Yeah, so it's cool to see a titan of sitcom acting.
Yeah, in a very early role for her. I mean, she had been acting since the early 80s, but she didn't have that many credits on her IMDb. But I think that she had probably been doing a lot of like theater, stage work and stuff.
Yes. I read that she was into like ballet and dance as well.
And now she's married to Ron Swanson.
That's true. I was telling you before we recorded, I was in Savers thrift store over the weekend before I watched this episode, and I saw the book she did with Nick Offerman there, and like it was in that moment where like it's like, oh, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? Ended up not buying it, but it was in my recent memory.
Very cool. No, Joe, don't do it. She's got that kind of like this kind of funny like 80s Valley girl-ish.
Yeah, there's an
sorta
affectation to
Yeah.
her, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think of this nail polish color? And then, so who's the other guest?
Then we had Ben Middleman, who played Jimmy. I thought Jimmy had like a really interesting face, and I think, he's played into that. I saw some of his credits are like playing gangsters and ne'er-do-wells, but he's had parts on Remington Steele, Cagney and Lacey, and he appears in the movie Dead Heat, a movie I love with Joe Piscopo, a fun 80s action flick.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, and he went on to appear in be on episodes of Frasier and Cheers.
Oh, yeah. I thought, because I looked up him as well, and I thought that he plays a good middleman between Joe and Cindy. The name fits. Also, he later went on to make a documentary. I forget what it's called, but basically, it's about him battling cancer, while his wife also battles a disease, and his mom. Yeah, but I was trying to think, what if he went on to marry Cindy, and that's the wife battling disease, and what if Faye's his mom? We don't know.
Oh, I have 2 more guest stars.
Okay.
So Huck Liggett, he had a line about he teased Joe sitting at the counter. But Kelly Britt, she played the woman at the counter who interacted with Faye.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like Wings was her last role. But she had a kind of a reoccurring role on Small Wonder, and she had a story arc on Mary Hartman. Did you ever watch Mary Hartman?
No, I haven't.
Mary Hartman.
I did not.
That's a show I heartily recommend. That show.
Okay.
I mean, that show actually, I think, has parallels with Twin Peaks, kind of tonally.
Okay.
It feels like, how they were watching the soap opera on Twin Peaks? It feels like it could have been that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's like one of my all-time favorite shows.
Who did you say was the previous guest star? The guy that's chatting with Lowell. Is that who it is?
Yeah,
and he says
Joe
oh.
walks in and he's like, I heard you're dating a slut. Something like that.
Yeah,
Oh
and he
my
goes,
God.
who told you? And then Lowell goes, it was a slow news day.
Yeah. Before we dive into it, can we have a Brian's tie report? Brian's tie report.
So my only note, I think you said that you have more notes than me on this one, so I'm just going to mention my note real quick. I don't think it's true, but I did write that it looks like his tie that he wears as part of his second outfit looks like it's part of the t-shirt or part of the button-up shirt he wears in the first scene.
Yes, yeah, that shirt in the first scene was like pastel-y with swishies and
Like,
stuff.
yeah, real dark and kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, he had 2 ties in this episode, but they looked like they came from the same collection.
Okay.
They were both kind of silky black ties with pastel-y kind of swooshes on them.
Yeah.
Like, the first one is like scribbles, kind of like you'd see on a Solo cup. And then the other one had kind of swipey lines, like rings almost.
Okay.
Neither of these ties blew me away, but they had some flair to them. Do you have any other opinions on those ties?
Not the ties, but I did write that for his first outfit, I wrote no tie, but crazy long sleeve button up tucked into very heavily pleated khakis.
Yes.
There is some pleats going on.
And that first shirt he was wearing looked like it was like a poly rayon blend, like that some, swinger in the 70s would wear.
There is a lot of cocaine caked into that nylon, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yes.
So we find out that Lowell lives on a boat.
Yeah, so we're entering Lowell notes on our Lowell Google Doc of just interesting. We're writing the biography of his life and keeping track of notes. And yeah, you nailed the one note I made from this episode is we learn Lowell lives on a houseboat with his wife.
Yeah. There's not really an A, B, and C story, right? It's all kind of just an A story that everything kind of revolves around. Mm-hmm. We learned that Faye has buried 3 ex-boy husbands named George, which is a pretty funny runner where she is surprised that woman, your other guest star, thinks it's unusual that she buried 3 husbands named George, but she's like, we bury our dead where I come from.
Yes.
Like missing the overarching.
Oh, Joe, did you bury your father when he died?
I wrote that Lowell lives on a boat. He knows about Cindy and he likes to gossip. I thought it was an interesting touch that Lowell would be up on that kind of gossip. Yeah.
I thought this episode there was a lot of slut shaming going on, and I did not care for it.
Yeah, agreed.
What this stems from is Brian tries to hoist off a woman onto Joe to date her, Cindy, so that he can date the woman he wants to date. But everyone points out to Joe that Cindy is a popular gal. A popular gal in
a very insinuating sort of way. Not a professional, but the island's ranking amateur, as Roy puts it. I actually was exploring this because the opening scene is basically Brian, who decides that after working 2 weeks without getting fired,
yes,
that he needs to celebrate. Brian's just looking for an excuse to go out there and get drunk, and so he runs past everybody. Lowell can't go because there's a leak in his house, and then Brian goes ceiling, and he goes, oh no, I live on a boat. It's from the floor. Faye can't go because she's thawing out her food for the weekend. Helen can't go because she doesn't date pilots, which we find out about her. Roy can't. Never mind.
Yes.
Well, he just decides not to ask Roy.
Yeah.
And then I think that leads into him going into the hangar to convince Joe, which leads to them kind of Brian trying to get convince Joe to play one-on-one basketball against him. Mm-hmm. Brian teases Joe about his social life. I thought it was a funny joke when Joe pulls out a notepad and writes down social life.
Oh yeah, I must get to that.
But then the scene ends without anybody really going, but then we find out in the next scene that Brian went by himself.
Okay, when they're balling in the hangar.
Yeah.
There's an interaction where, Brian's like, getting you a date will be my project. And Joe's all...
He says, the next time you do something like this, I ended up in court. And then Brian goes, yeah, thanks a lot, witness for the prosecution.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any idea of what you think the project that got Brian into court was?
Let's hear one of your theories, and I want to see if I'm following the right thread.
Okay, I think Brian might have been smuggling gas station sex pills like horny goat's weed and that kind of thing.
Okay. Did those exist back then?
Yes.
Okay, really?
Yes.
Wow.
As a 10-year-old boy at the time, I can say yes, they did.
Okay. What if Brian had a scheme to convince like the entire roster of like a local strip club, I don't know, like come on like a rented yacht or something?
Yes, but it's a yacht in the sky.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's something similar. Like, I was thinking, like, what if it was Bang Bus, but on an airplane?
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
I think maybe he was, like, flying a plane and maybe saw some cheerleader car washes and he did a barnstorming. No, I think more realistically, he was probably flying charter flights to Epstein's Island. Yeah.
That's probably true.
Oh, wait, no, those people didn't get prosecuted.
I mean, neither did Brian. Oh, yeah. No. We'll see.
Witness for the testimony,
Well,
for the prosecution. I loved some of Steven Weber grows on me a little more every episode. I would agree with Sam Pancake. It seems like he truly is a gem. Mm-hmm. But I'm loving like his physical comedy in these, and the moment you noted when he's like so happy he hasn't lost the job in 2 weeks. He does this like dance. He looks like a leprechaun jauntily obfuscating the whereabouts of his pot of gold. And then he segues into jumping on the counter. And just like, you know, a lot of people would look like a dork doing that, but it works for him.
Yeah, he looks like a dork. But I wrote down, too, Brian's outfit is very wild, which is my way of saying he looks like a dork. Mm-hmm. But he's full of energy and confidence. So I'm sure 11-year-old Emerson would have thought he was super cool. And I don't mean myself, Emerson. I mean Jim Emerson.
From the Boston Globe.
Yeah, from the Boston Globe, who wrote about Twin Peaks.
Yes.
He's got like a lot of fun energy. He's got like he's fast. He's got like quick barbs and stuff.
Yeah. After the last couple episodes, I was like giving the show some credit. I'm like, okay, Brian's kind of taken off the gas. He hasn't been as creepy, and I was happy to see he had a friendship with Helen that he wasn't constantly hitting on her. But in this first scene, he immediately starts hitting on Helen, and she has to practice the cello and doesn't date pilots, and I just thought he was coming on way too strong.
I also kind of read some of that as like the two of them kind of have a friendly kind of back and forth, but also I don't know if I think that because it's reminiscent of like the friends I had in the 90s.
Yes, and
our interactions were probably heavily influenced by shows like this. To me it's clear that he's joking. What makes a sitcom, is the fact that like nobody is gonna like react in such a way where it's clear that this is like truly affecting their lives.
Yes.
Everything is like kind of just light.
Everything goes back to stasis in the end.
Yeah.
But then when they're on the date later on and the scene opens up, Brian's like, "Say, why did we never hook up back in high school?" And or back in middle school. Yeah. And I like how he's like running his finger around the rim of the cup and like batting his eyelashes as he says it.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
But then they had to wedge in a fat joke there. Helen says, "Oh, it's because you were obnoxious," and he's like, "Oh yeah, and you were fat."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
I like that she gets like the final word though. Mm-hmm. She goes, "Well, I got thin," basically insinuating that she got thin, but he's still obnoxious.
Yeah, and I think at this point, like, we should have some sort of celebration jig when an episode goes by where they don't discuss Helen's weight.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
There's not yet been an episode where they don't discuss Helen's weight.
Yeah, I also like the idea that Joe is an intimidating basketball player.
Oh my God!
Which before we started recording, we were talking about the fact that like Brian like kind of like prods him a few times to like play one-on-one. Joe grabs the ball, runs up, does like a slam dunk, but like the camera cuts to showing him.
Oh yeah, they cut to an extreme close up and called in the stuntman, and it was just weird.
Yeah, And then he says, "First to 11, $50 or $100 or something like that." And Brian's like, "Oh, gotta go."
Yeah, but Joe doesn't want to go on this date.
Yeah,
and Brian talks him into it by saying like, "Oh, it's the dream girl I always dreamed about, a 6-foot-tall, redheaded Oriental."
Doesn't he even just say it's like the dream, and then Joe knows exactly what he's talking about? Like you met a 6-foot-tall redheaded Oriental girl?
Okay, we need to make allowances for certain like use cases of language of the 90s because times change and some words that aren't acceptable today will be tomorrow and vice versa. But I feel like even in the 90s, Oriental was not in favored vernacular.
I liked when Helen is convincing Joe to go on a date with him. Mm-hmm. You know, she's like, you know, she's trying to change. Like, Helen's telling Joe that, like, that Cindy's making an effort to, like, change her reputation and, like, not be seen as this, like, this easy girl or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that gets treated, like we see later, gets treated like she should be available for every, like, douchebag's whim and pleasure. And Helen's like, you know, yeah, do it for this. And then she goes, and, you know, if she decides not to reform, maybe you'll get lucky. And then she does this cackle.
Yeah, I was like, where did that come from?
I kind of liked it.
Yeah,
it was,
I liked
like,
it.
pretty
But
weird.
they waste no time getting lots of digs in on Cindy, who, when you see her actually in scenes, you know, she's passionate about makeup. That's all she talks about.
She's the head makeup girl at that store. It's like she's in a position of, like, responsibility, and she's really good at, like we see later that she, like, completely nails Helen's makeup. Like, I mean, she's a very skillful makeup person.
Yeah, and I feel so bad for her because, especially Roy, but everyone's just disrespecting her. Roy has one line, like, where, he brings Brian her phone number, and he's like, you'll need this. It was carved on the post over there.
Yep.
You know, he has a line of...
Like, he says, I knew a guy that didn't date her twice last week, or something like that.
Yeah. So bad. So bad. And then, you know, Brian, he had some off-putting dialogue in this one. The whole run where he does with Joe, where he's like, chicks, dames, broads, birds, skirts, honeys. And it just felt like really old school Hollywood. And
Skirts, honeys, honeys.
I get it.
You sure? Because I know at least 38 different euphemisms, more to get into specific body parts.
And icky.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, for his credit, you know, Joe does have on his mind that he does want to give Cindy a chance and give her an opportunity to, you know, because she's expressed that she wants her reputation to change. And
Right. Like, I actually kind of, like, love Joe in this one. First, some stuff and some stuff I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear that he doesn't feel comfortable going out with her, but he decides to do it anyway because of, like, what Helen convinces him. Like, to, you know, he, like, is forced to see her as a human being.
Yes.
Because previously he was like, well, I'm a businessman on this island. I have a reputation to uphold. And, like, I don't want people talking about me behind my back, which I can kind of understand, but also is kind of corny. But also, it does seem like he's uncomfortable with her from the beginning. They have very different energies, and, like, I don't see them being a successful couple.
No, yeah, for sure.
It is kind of nice that, like, he sees that she's wants to date a nice guy, and, like, that she sees him as a nice guy, and he's like, you know what? Let's just go on a date and, like, let's just deal with it.
Yeah. That's kind of like bullshit what he said, though, because, like, his reputation.
Yeah.
It's like pilots are most known for laying pipe everywhere they go.
Yeah.
And secondarily, they're known as the people that fly your planes.
By the way, Faye totally knew what she was doing when she suggested that he put something extra in his wallet. Wait.
Oh.
In his wallet? Yeah.
Yes.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
Faye was talking about that condom. She's like, you're gonna get that D.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Joe, you know, he's huh? But then, you're talking about a $5 bill, not a prophylactic.
The club car.
Oh, the club car club.
Yeah.
Looks like the most awful place to spend an evening.
I disagree.
Really?
It's a real place, and I looked it up.
No.
And I think the exterior.
The exterior is a real place.
Exterior is real. The interior might also be.
It was totally a set.
It was a set? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the exterior, and I looked it up on Google Maps and looked at, like, interior shots, and it looks like a legit, awesome, nice restaurant.
Yeah, what is it that what's the menu item that Joe was considering, like the fisherman's bucket or something?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Anybody know what's in the Neptune's Bounty?
Oh, man.
We should call the club car and see if they're serving that tonight.
Let me guess. You guys just watched episode 5, season 1, Wings. Yeah. They're just, like, so used to that question.
Well, it's the kind of place, you know, you go in there and they have, like, a framed photo still from the show on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
An article from the local paper about.
in real life, part of the restaurant is like an old trolley car or something.
Okay.
The bar area has like that kind of sort of domed ceiling and like a
It's long.
yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
But then the main restaurant area looks like the same shape as in the show, but everything is like all white and clear and clean.
So this date transpires at the club car, and they're not. They haven't even ordered yet. They're just haven't even got their water brought to them yet. And this guy Jimmy walks up. What was your sense of Jimmy's character?
Like just a good douchebag.
Yeah, total douchebag. He's
Yeah.
trying. He obviously had relations with Cindy at some point, or was familiar with her and was trying to get her number.
Yeah, and like I couldn't tell if this was like a restaurant or just a bar.
Yes.
Because they were like when Joe and Cindy show up, Brian and Helen had like a couple of empties in front of them, right? Like one or two empty
Yes.
drinks. It feels more like a bar that serves food as opposed to like a restaurant that you can drink at.
They were definitely sitting down to dinner, though. I got that sense.
Yeah, that's true. But it had like everything was kind of bare wood and like not a lot of decor.
No. But apparently you said that looks like a nice place to hang out. I didn't.
In current, like, if you look at the pictures, currently,
Okay, the real place, not
The real
Yeah,
place.
but that actual.
Yeah.
That looked high key lighting and just like.
But I would love to time travel back and like have a drink at that bar. Hey boy, who do you think you are? I'm from Los Angeles in the year 2022, sir. So yeah, this guy
Jimmy.
comes up, starts talking up Cindy. Cindy is like immediately uncomfortable, and Joe is just like reading the menu and like not ignoring the situation, and it's like kind of a bummer. Like I feel like I mean
Brian's the one who jumps up and he's trying to defend her, but also deflecting everything onto Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Whoa. I'm not your buddy. I'm just trying to have a couple of laughs with the lady here.
Well, Cindy is with my brother Joe now. She doesn't laugh anymore.
Brian, maybe you should.
Yeah, Brian, maybe you should.
Okay, look, Jimmy. We were just trying to have a simple little dinner here.
Oh, really?
Really wish you wouldn't do that. Joe does not care for sarcasm.
Hey, Joe. If you got a problem, just speak up.
Oh, now you've done it. He hates that.
What?
I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to cause any
Cindy, it's
trouble.
not about you. This is between Jimmy and Joe.
And then eventually, like Joe like stands up and like says something, and the guy takes a swing at Joe.
Yes.
Joe dodges. I thought that was like pretty well choreographed.
It was one of the most amazing like punches on TV.
Yeah, it was like really well done.
Yeah, they got a double punch.
Yeah,
And
basically he misses Joe and he hits Brian.
he doesn't miss Joe though. He connects with both of them.
Oh, I thought he missed Joe.
No, and then that's why in the last scene they both have braces on their noses, and then Roy walks in and is like, "Oh, you look like the Sphinx brothers."
Oh, see, I thought that Joe's nose brace came from when he went outside to confront the guy again.
Oh, that could be, but I don't know. We could watch it again. Listeners, maybe you can watch this and tell us what you think, but I say it was a double punch with both connecting.
Okay, we're gonna watch it again right now. Yes, we're only one.
No, there was two.
No, only one.
No, dude, there was fucking two. I swear to God. We gotta hash this out.
All right.
Okay, so we paused and rewatched it, and it was clearly a double punch. The punch connects to Joe and Brian.
To me, it's clear that Joe dodges it, and the punch connects only to Brian. Jarred says he can hear a double punch. I can only hear a single.
Yeah,
connection.
in the sound effects, it's like.
And all I hear is.
No, it's.
Please, somebody.
It's clearly a double punch.
Hashtag Emerson is right. And not Jim Emerson of San Bernardino making his t-shirts or whatever. I'm positive. Because, like also after the punch.
So your theory is unseen, they go outside and fight, have a little bit more fisticuffs, and that's
Yeah.
where Joe gets.
Yeah, because here's what happens. I mean, okay, I know Jared disagrees, but basically Brian riles up the guy. The guy, like, Joe stands up. The guy takes a swing at Joe. Joe dodges. The guy punches Brian. Brian is sitting there holding his nose because he's already been hurt. Mm-hmm. Joe and the guy like have an altercation. They're like, whatever, hands on lapels.
Yeah, they're shoving.
The bar staff are like, you guys gotta go. And Joe goes, I'll take care of this. And he follows the guy outside where they have an unseen altercation. And then next scene, you see Joe has a splint as well.
They both have a boo-boo on their nose.
Yeah. See, I like your version because that makes me think that Joe got to beat up the guy, which is what I wanted to happen.
Yeah, you should have seen the other guy.
But I think what actually happened is that the guy like just beat up Joe outside.
Yeah, give him a punch. No, it
Both
was
Hackett brothers got knocked around. I wanted to see them, unite. Like, it would have been nice to see if they
the two of them should have been able to take Jimmy.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, but no, it was clearly a double punch where that first punch connected to both. All of you, who do you think? Who's right? Is it Emerson or Jarred?
And don't forget to spell Jared all weird.
Yes, please.
Was it Jarred?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The door is jarred.
I have another friend. Oh, it's like that. I have another friend who's Jerrod, so he's Gerard.
Yeah. There's a million. For every Jarred, there's a different way to spell it.
And then I'm Emerson with only one M. And if anybody could tell my Aunt Penny, that after 43 years, it is still only one M.
Is she double M in it?
Yeah.
So it's like M.
I've been getting like birthday cards from her since I was a kid that say Emerson.
Well, do you send her birthday cards?
Oh, I don't, but yeah, I should probably write pin in the
No. You should just be grateful that she's so thoughtful.
Oh yeah, 100%. I love my aunt. So like I did have a lot of thoughts about that bar scene, and that like I was really hoping to see. I don't know. I mean, I guess in a sitcom you don't really want your main characters to be like real brawlers.
Yes.
But I was hoping to see like them show a little bit of like unity between each other, and then like also even if like Joe's not gonna marry Cindy, at least kind of like do like the gentlemanly thing. Like
yeah. At least
know
Brian was trying to.
Brian was like
white knight it.
Yeah, Brian was trying to white knight it. Joe was being the Emerson of the bar. Like if I was on a date with a girl and some guy started hitting on her, I'd be like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not true, but like I would be. That's my nightmare scenario.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, especially if it's like a first date where you're like, you feel like, oh, I don't, maybe she knows this guy, maybe she likes this. Who am I to interject?
I love the ending. Like the ending where Cindy shows up and she's doing this dramatic exit. Joe, I'm leaving you,
Yeah.
And she tries to walk away and Joe keeps following her. And then she's like, no, Joe, don't do this, like heightening it. And then eventually he's like, I'm your pilot.
I got to go to this plane. I'm flying it, lady. Yeah. I did love that scene for Cindy, and it made me feel sadder about Cindy's life, and also made her character that much more dynamic for me. But sad because, if you feel for her, she has to move to a whole new city to get away from her reputation.
Yeah.
But also, it made me feel like she's kind of perhaps like addicted to love, because they had one date that ended after 10 minutes, and it really feels like she's accelerating their relationship by feeling like she needs to break up with them. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of telling me maybe she has this reputation because she latches onto men quickly because she's just searching for love, and it made me really, my heart hurt for her.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's a great take. But also, like, she's gonna have way more opportunities in Boston. Oh, yeah. And like, so I looked at the Nantucket population. It's currently, or at least as of 2018, 11,327. That's a pretty small community where, like, I think a reputation like that might be kind of hard to, like, I mean, God, because like, based on that guy Jimmy,
Yes.
There probably are some like really douchey dipshits.
Well, like even when she just walked in the bar and everyone was like, "Oh, Cindy!" The whole crowd ogled her and like hollering her name
and who knows? Like maybe she just like broke up with the guy and like that guy just was poison and just like spread rumors about her that weren't even true.
Yeah, I don't think Boston's a city for her because I'm just imagining instead of these Nantucket knuckleheads hollering at her and being sexist towards her. Imagining the Boston men doing that, but with like the worst accent that's ever existed.
I don't mind the Boston accent.
Okay, well, yeah. Imagine Jimmy, who talks like, Ben Affleck in Good Will Hunting or something.
Oh, yeah. I like to imagine like there's a follow-up episode that we don't see. Joe, it's Cindy. I met this really great guy. His name is Sam Malone. He runs a bar.
Oh, you nailed it. That's like gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then Malone's gonna tell Cliff and Norm, and it's just gonna spread all over town. And I'm sorry, Cindy. I feel for you. I thought Roy had zingers in this episode. Honestly, like, not all the slut shaming and stuff, but the line I probably laughed hardest at was when he called them the Hackett brothers, the Sphinx brothers.
Oh yeah.
And then he followed it with you boys. He followed that line with, "You boys throw a mean nose."
That's a pretty good one. I don't like the context, but I thought it was like well written. The where like Cindy goes to the bathroom to fix her.
Oh, that was a great line too.
What does she say? Like
when she says, "I have a real awful feeling that my eyeliner is wrong."
Yeah, my eyeliner is really wrong.
I just like that. I have an awful feel. I have this emotional connection to my eyeliner.
Yeah. So while she's gone, Roy's explaining whatever. Like they're telling Joe who she is, and then like Joe goes, "She's a professional," and Roy goes, "She's a professional, but she is definitely the island's raking amateur."
Yes.
And then Cindy comes back out, and she's like, "Yeah, like I fixed my thing. I'm so ashamed. Like my eyeshadow all wrong, and me a professional." And then Roy goes, "I stand corrected."
Yeah, but it's
in the context I don't like it, but I thought it was like well written, well phrased.
Yeah, everything about Cindy, like even her that sense of I'm feeling like my eyeliner's wrong. It's just making me further believe that she's having these esteem issues. Poor Cindy.
That she really cares about what people. Yeah. Oh, I read that she auditioned to be Helen.
Okay,
Megan
really?
Mullally. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the show would have been like even better. With Megan Mullally playing the.
It's hard to say. Because Crystal Bernard is so good in the role, and.
Yeah, Crystal Bernard is good, but she's kind of boring. Like, you know what I thought was really cute though? I love the Helen line where where Brian mentioned Cindy, and then Helen, can't remember, like, actor from actress. Helen is like, Joe and Cindy and Joe, like, picturing it, and she's like, I can see that, like, on a hand towel. I thought that's, like, kind of, like, an interesting, like view into how she, like, views romance. Like,
yes.
Imagining the couple's items
the
together.
Of
living
together.
Yeah, I think it would have like a much different feel if Megan Mullally was playing her.
Yeah, and I hate to revisit this theory from the last time we talked, because it's really creepy and gross. But I'm again thinking like these Hackett brothers. There's some weird incestuous sexuality to them, because like there's the triangle with Helen, and last week where Lowell mistakenly thought that they were romantically linked.
Yeah,
but it's this episode where, this whole dating thing, Brian is really wrapped up in his brother's sexuality and trying to get him a woman. And, Brian, you don't often see being so selfless, but he really, initially it's so he could get the date with Gail, but that quickly dissipates. And he's just doing anything he can to get Joe to go on this date. And I'm like, why is he... I feel like maybe it's one soul that shares two bodies, and it's like the duality of their mind, and like, Brian's all ego, and there's something there that I'm not going to be able to dig out of my brain. That's Lowell planted in there.
Do you think that like, because that opening scene actually, I thought that the line about one-on-one, he's like, what does he say? How does he say? He's like, how are you not going to do some one-on-one? You should be getting some one-on-one. Like,
yes.
I thought that was like a funny like play of words. Wing, 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 wing.
Hello?
Hey, is this the Wings Nuts podcast?
Oh, yeah. We have a caller who is this?
Well, funny you should ask. It's me, Lowell, from the TV show Wings. Yep, I'm still over here working at Sandpiper Air.
Wow. What's changed in these ensuing years?
I'll tell you, things changed a lot post 9/11. Yep, Helen's counter got an extra sandwich maker.
Okay. Do you require people to take off their shoes there? And what's the security like?
There's a lot of insecurity. If you think about the Hackett brothers, still can't get a date. Yeah.
How about your love life, Lowell? Still married?
Still married. It's been 35 beautiful years. The wife and I just got a golden doodle.
Really? And the dog?
Nope. A drawing by a local artist named Jimmy Draws in Gold.
How about Helen? Is she still rocking the cello?
Helen. You know something? I haven't seen Helen in a while. That's because I got this eye surgery, but I hear her voice on occasion and it sounds like she's doing great at that double sandwich counter.
Well, Lowell, I mean, we're so excited that you're a listener to this podcast.
Yep. Big fan. And I look forward to you guys watching more episodes so you can have more details that are accurate to the show.
Hey, feel free to call in anytime, Lowell.
Well, I gotta run because I'm training for the new Boston Marathon.
Wow, that was really impressive. Emerson, you walked out of the room, you missed it, but Lowell called in.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, that was
crazy. So is like Joe a stud? In the first scene, Joe's wearing a long sleeve shirt that's not a button up. It's tucked into jeans with no belt. It's like such a corny outfit.
Yeah, he has no swag, is what you're saying.
But I'm sure that women viewing at the time were like, Tim Daly.
Yeah, and I think maybe them playing him up as kind of normcore dork. I think that actually might have perhaps fueled the passions.
Oh yeah.
Viewers would be inclined to say God, these sexies. Oh, he's so misunderstood on this show.
I also I've been trying to play around with this idea because both Joe and Brian are pilots.
Yes.
We don't know what their dad did for a living at all. Joe talks about how proud he is of his airplane, and he says do you remember when I got my first Schwinn and stuff? It doesn't even sound like airplane talk exists in the family. I'm wondering if both brothers somehow found piloting on their own, or if it is a family thing.
My theory is they were friends with Helen. And we know Helen's dad ran that little counter beforehand. So I think they came there after school, stole a free Coke and a bag of chips and watched planes coming and going.
Okay. I like that theory. Yeah, that's actually kind of great.
But their dad, I think their dad was actually an actor, Buddy Hackett.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I think their dad was the Spring Snake salesman.
Yes. Yeah. Or their dad designed the world's first escape room.
Oh my god. Their dad's secretly still alive and he's just planning a surprise for 2 years down the line.
Oh, that'd be great.
I've been alive the whole time.
And he's a goblin.
Yeah, I was gonna say I watched Analyze This yesterday. Yeah. The actress that plays Faye is in it.
Okay.
And it was cool seeing her. I was fucking Faye.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was gonna hang out at any place so far in the Wings series, I guess the airport would be my first destination, but that club bar would be my second.
You're in the club car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of place where wild fracasses.
That's the kind of place where I would order a Boilermaker.
Yeah.
And although I don't know if it would truly be my bar, I know that it exists in real life, and so if I ever like somehow end up in Nantucket, I'm definitely gonna go there first.
I think we should just go give him a 5-star Yelp review right now and just say I saw it on Wings.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wings brought me here.
Comments, yeah.
Yeah.
And people go in the restaurant and try to order wings and be like, we don't have wings. What are you talking about?
I came here because of the wings.
Yeah. Well, shit, we talked about an episode of Wings.
Yes.
How many stripes would you give this one?
So far, I think I gave 2 stripes to the pilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know that like for the double header, I think I gave it 2.5. Like I think I gave 3 to one and then 2 to the second.
Yes.
So I ended up on 2.5. I think I might have gone, because what was the second episode? That was the one about how. Oh yeah, and one of the storylines was her putting on that sexy dress. Yeah. Did we give it a stripe rating?
Yeah.
We did. Okay. Then I think I would have gone. This one I would maybe go back to 2.
Yeah, I gotta say there were some good jokes on this.
Yeah.
I'd give it a 2 as well. I thought there were good jokes, but they're just too. The slut shaming was not.
Yeah. I thought I liked. So let's see. I loved seeing that new location. So I loved seeing that bar, and I thought Megan Mullally was really funny. That ending scene is great. That scene at the bar kind of bummed me out, but it was also kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like some fun choreography with that single punch.
Yeah, the double punch. Yeah. I don't know. I think they're batting par for me. Like some of their other episodes, lots to love and lots to go. Yikes!
I think I would go like 2.5 to 3 if it wasn't for the 6-foot-tall redheaded Oriental girl and all the slut shaming.
Yeah.
So yeah, those like knock it down.
Yeah. Emerson, thank you for sitting down and talking Wings with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Emerson talked about Wings episode 5. There once was a girl from Nantucket. This is the penultimate episode of season 1. We're going to see the 6th and final episode next week. Can you believe we already almost finished the first season?
It's crazy, yeah.
And I guess we're going to have a Twitter now, so look out for a link for that.
Yep.
Follow us. And, geez, that was a lot of fun. And I should mention our theme song remix is by EJ Foyas. Thank you, EJ, for that theme song.
Yeah, dude, thank you. It's awesome.
So, Emerson, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lowell, for winging in.
Yes.
For the wing.
Yeah, Lowell.
Can't believe I missed that. Crazy. Yeah.
I'll try to catch him next time he calls in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and we will watch Wings again next week.
Beep, boop, beep.